Good morning and TGIF. It is Friday, October 25th, 2019. You're watching the Daily Mix TV. Hi, my name is Sean Patrick Hillman. Well, we knew it was coming, kids. WeWork is planning to cut almost a third of its workforce. That's about 4,000 positions, and that's according to a report from the Financial Times. Now, they cited anonymous sources that said a quarter of the jobs will be custodial and similar positions that the office-leading startup expects to outsource. Now, it's part of an over $9 billion takeover by Japanese conglomerate SoftBank. The plans also envision pulling back operations in all markets except the U.S., Europe, and Japan. Now, as a byproduct of all of the things that have happened at WeWork in the last 2 weeks, the value of employee stock awards and options have all but evaporated in the face of the company's valuation falling to $8 billion from $47 billion just this January. This is exactly what happens with companies like WeWork. They have this great brand, and then greed sets in. They go public or try to go public, and then they flatline. Now, this would have happened to Uber as well, but there was just too much star power behind that brand. Now, this is a good segue into a different conversation. Millennials have spent their lives adapting around tech companies that have changed the way they work, eat, commute, and live compared to prior generations. And millennials advocate heavily for companies like WeWork and Uber, which frankly only serve to fleece them of their money. Some of those former startups have driven those changes, knowing the desperation of Generation Y in differentiating itself, have maximized growth by throttling prices, effectively subsidizing their services. In other words, what's happened is these brands that start out as an altruistic company or a company that makes money that has altruism built into their DNA because they're targeting millennials, they basically end up increasing prices incrementally to the point where it bankrupts you and profits them. However, some of these unicorns have already crashed. I mean, look at what's going on with WeWork right now. And many are recklessly bleeding cash, signaling an end of the second coming of consumer tech in the market. And as they focus back on profits, consumers will most likely pay the price, particularly those very millennials who foolishly supported them. Power blackouts have affected more than 500,000 people in Northern California already as efforts mount by the utilities to keep power lines from igniting more wildfires amid an already massive blaze. The Kincaid fire has burned more than 10,000 acres since it began Wednesday evening, forcing the evacuation of up to 2,000 residents. Now, the cause of this fire still remains unknown. California's 3 major utilities, including PG&E, have cut power for more than 200,000 homes, and shutoffs could ultimately leave more than 1 million people in the dark. Here's the problem. With a lot of what's going on in California right now, you've got a very, very liberal government. And, look, there's nothing wrong with that as long as there's some balance in there. The issue at hand for California is that they want their cake and they want to eat it too. And don't we all? But the challenge here is that with the power companies, particularly PG&E, they're bucking right now under pressure from the government, yet they have no choice but to do this because there just isn't enough money and enough resources to quell these fires that happen this time of year every year. In order to stem that and to save money down the pipe, you've got these power companies that are pulling the plug, and it's making a lot of people very upset. Looks like the footlong is making an appearance at Foot Locker. They're adding hot dogs to the mix at their Los Angeles flagship to celebrate the launch of the Jordan Rivals footwear and apparel collection. The sneaker mecca will open a pop-up restaurant inside its flagship at Hollywood and Highland in California. The new collection is inspired by Michael Jordan's basketball rivals and features bold colors and retro style. The store will open a pickup window called the Rivals Cafe, serving signature sandwiches and, yes, hot dogs, associated with the culinary histories of Los Angeles and Chicago. The pop-up, managed by food and drink blog FOODBEAST, will be available to Foot Locker customers purchasing items from the Jordan Rivals line. The pop-up will be open for 2 weekends, Thursday to Sunday, starting this weekend, so yesterday through Sunday, and again on Halloween through November 3rd. All right, folks, when you do pop-up stores or this kind of promo, so a store within a store pop-up, the whole idea is to drive as much noise and attention as you can. So for Foot Locker, this is very smart, and I love the fact that they're focusing on Chicago and LA in terms of that food service. Hot dogs are much more Chicago than they are California, Los Angeles, for sure. When you do pop-ups, though, for Foot Locker, this is smart, but when you do pop-ups in general, or store within a store pop-ups for promo, you need to make sure that you're looking at everything that's going on around you, around that store. So in this case, has Foot Locker done its homework? Do they know what kind of events or other things are happening in the market on these 2 weekends? Halloween is a very busy weekend. And depending on where you live, like in New York City as an example, half the city is celebrating Halloween this weekend, the other half is celebrating next weekend. It just depends on who your crowd is and where you go, those kinds of things. So hopefully Foot Locker has done their homework, but I got to tell you, overall, this sounds like a really fun promo, and it certainly is driving a lot of noise. All right, a very, very, very happy birthday to my wife, Kylie. I love you, honey. To celebrate this week's Flashback Friday, this one is for you. Do you guys remember this?
Woman! Whoa, man! Whoa, man!
Charlie McKenzie
Hello!
finds something wrong
She's a thief. She was in the mafia. She smelled like soup.
with every girl he dates. But when Charlie meets Harriet,
Hi.
Hi. What do you look for in a woman you date?
But I'd really have to go with breast size.
he knows she's the one.
You have the face of a wee angel.
I give! I'm Charlie's father!
Except for one thing. She might be a serial killer.
She murders her husbands on their honeymoons, then changes her identity and marries again. I'm afraid that you're gonna leave me.
I'm gonna cleave you?
So I married an ex-murderer.
I like this one, Charlie.
Why don't you go and put your trousers on?
The cult comedy classic is now available in an all-new special edition on DVD and Blu-ray high def.
Mom, can you get the school nurse?
Starring Mike Myers,
Harriet! Harriet! Hard-hearted harbinger of haggis.
Nancy Travis,
I could do anything to you in your sleep. Stick a needle in your...
Mike Myers,
Heed! People, no! Look at the size of that boy's head. Shh. I'm not kidding, it's like an orange on a toothpick.
Anthony LaPaglia,
Why can't you be like the captain on Starsky and Hutch? Somebody needs a hug.
and Alan Arkin.
You screw up one more time, I'm gonna kick your spaghetti-bending butt back to Milan.
Not now, not now.
Was it too much with the ethnic slurs?
So I married an ex-murderer.
Why don't you stay for a nightcap?
You two want to be alone.
Stay for a nightcap!
Digitally remastered for the best picture and sound quality.
I'm naked, aren't I?
With an 8-song digital download of the soundtrack.
All you got it. We have a paper down.
Special edition DVD and Blu-ray high def.
I hated the Colonel with his wee beady eyes.
Dad, how can you hate the Colonel?
Because he puts an addictive chemical in his chicken that makes you crave it fortnightly, smart arse.
One of my wife's favorite movies, So I Married an Axe Murderer, starring Mike Myers, Nancy Travis, and Anthony LaPaglia, hit theaters in 1993. And while it wasn't a box office success at only just over, I think it was about $11 million in tickets, the movie has since become a cult favorite on streaming. Lord knows my wife loves watching it multiple times. My name is Sean Patrick Hillman. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Daily Mix TV. Have a great weekend, folks. We'll see you on Monday.